Tonight on The Big Story, consumers are in for more challenging times ahead as wage, fuel, and power concerns linger. None of these issues has a clear solution or resolution just yet. Pag-asa does not see rains letting up any day soon. A wet weekend is ahead, with a warning to brace for more flooding. President Marcos talks about the elections 2 years from now that will choose his successor. Does he have anyone in mind?
I will certainly endorse a candidate in the 2028 elections. We have to see how things really shape up. Sa ngayon, puro haka-haka lang. Baka tatakbo si ganito, baka tatakbo si ganyan. And there are so many political events that are still going to happen between now and that time.
And it really does take a village to raise children and entire communities. One spot in Bukidnon is finding that sustainable learning and livelihood are possible with help from the private sector. Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. We begin with pain points as the week comes to a close and as new ones beckon. Labor groups are slamming the further holdup in Metro Manila's new minimum wage. Then, there's pump prices expected to rise again next week amid power supply issues, especially affecting Visayas. Consumer concerns make up the big story tonight from mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
An unprecedented injustice. That is how Trade Union Congress of the Philippines spokesperson Carlos Miguel Oñate described the order that further stalled the new Metro Manila wage hike. The ruling came from the Pasig Regional Trial Court, Branch 152.
It is very clear in Article 126 of the Labor Code that no injunction or temporary restraining order can be issued against the proceedings of the Regional Wage Board.
A 60 peso daily wage hike, the first tranche of the approved 85 peso increase, was supposed to take effect on July 25. But the Pasig Court issued a temporary restraining order on July 30 and extended the freeze via preliminary injunction following a petition from 2 construction companies.
I think this is also a wake-up call for Congress and for no less than the President to certify as urgent a legislated wage increase.
No pay hike, and now consumers and motorists have to ensure another surge in fuel prices next week. Gasoline is expected to go up by as much as 3 pesos per liter, diesel by 4 pesos and 25 centavos, and kerosene by more than 5 pesos per liter. Main drivers of the hike are higher prices across the Min of Platte, Singapore amid the still raging Middle East conflict. Oil companies will announce official price adjustments on Monday, August 17, taking effect the next day, Tuesday at 6 in the morning. On The Big Story on Thursday, Energy Secretary Sharon Garin acknowledged the need for a proactive approach to unpredictable fuel prices.
So, at one point, I was so happy na salamat, tapos na to. But then the next day, then they start fighting again. So, I can't predict really what's going to happen. What we can control lang actually says is how we react to such changes. So that's why we've been pushing for conservation, less consume less electricity, mga ganun lang makokontrol natin. But and hoarding, but on the price, it's really difficult to predict.
Another pain point for the DOE and consumers is the power problem that persists. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, has again placed the Visayas grid under red and yellow alert status this Friday. The red alert began at 5 p.m. and will be in effect until 9 p.m., while a yellow alert is raised until 10 p.m. Under a red alert, power supply is insufficient to meet the demand and required reserve, while a yellow alert means supply remains sufficient but reserve levels are below the required contingency margin. The Energy Secretary says the government is working on both immediate and long-term solutions to address power issues in Visayas and Mindanao.
We're working with the NGCP trying to bring in more batteries as a temporary recourse para mabawasan yung red and yellow alert. We have immediately, we bring in some of the barges with diesel para temporarily for 1 or 2 years, it can relieve the area. And then ultimately, yun nga, yung mga long-term na mga planta na talaga. So there are plans na to avoid naman the long-term suffering of mga kababayan natin sa Visayas.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, We Are One News.
In other news, Vice President Sara Duterte asked the Quezon City Regional Trial Court to hold oral arguments on a motion to quash the grave threats case filed against her. The VP's legal team insists it is important to have such proceeding because of possible implications of the complaint. Duterte's counsel, Paul Lawrence Lim, believes that if a sitting vice president can be charged and tried, it sets a precedent for other impeachable officials, including the president.
Dahil sila ay impeachable officer, hindi dapat sila maaaring kasuhan ng mga kasong kriminal katulad ng sinampa sa ating Vice Presidente. So yun yung dahilan kung bakit nag-file kami ng motion to quash. Very far-reaching and serious yung consequences presented by this issue.
But DOJ Prosecutor General Richard Fadulion says there is a difference between an impeachment and a criminal case. He maintains both can be filed simultaneously against the vice president. Under the Philippine law, only the president enjoys immunity from lawsuits while in office.
Whatever it is that's going on before the impeachment court is different from the one that we have now. No, this is before the regional trial court. That's why we would leave it to the ruling of the court, no, how it will dispose the same, whether it believes that the charges can be sustained, even if the accused in this case is an impeachable officer. No, kasi wala namang nagbabar na hindi siya pwedeng filean ng kaso.
Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, meantime, had this take on VP Duterte's legal move. In a statement, Castro said the VP's camp seems to be making another threat. The USEC maintains that no one is above the law and that another who abuses their authority must face the consequences of their actions. Duterte's counsel addressed this statement.
I respect the Palace Press Officer's opinion, no? But of course, it was never issued as a threat. Tama naman sinabi niya, no? No one is above the law. And I agree with that. If the vice president has to answer, for example, for any crime, no? Should it be now that she is still a sitting vice president or later when she is no longer, no? If ever, no? Yun lang naman. It's a question of fact, Tristan, no? Na kailangan masagot nga after, no? Hopefully makapag-usap at makapag oral arguments kami, no? Doon sa korte.
Meanwhile, the Vice President's ally, Senator Rodante Marcoleta and former Congressman Mike Defensor appeared before the Sandigan-Bayan 3rd Division for the pre-trial of their plunder case. Also present were their co-accused businessmen Aristotel Viray and Joseph Espiritu. The respondents have filed petitions for bail for the case linked to the undeclared campaign contributions. Marcoleta and Defensor are likewise facing charges for alleged violation of Presidential Decree 46, which prohibits public officials from receiving gifts. According to the Sandigan-Bayan, it will first determine whether the prosecution's evidence is sufficient to establish that the case against the accused is strong. The anti-graft court set the bail hearing for September 3. Marcoleta likewise filed a motion seeking the dismissal of the case and asked the court to stop the issuance of a preventive suspension order against him as a senator. The court will hear this separately on August 18. It's Friday again, and you know what that means. I'm now joined by a resident political pundit for insights on the week that was in Philippine politics. Welcome back to the big story, the Dalai Llamas. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Unang-una, Well, the report will follow later, but the president spoke before FOCAP today, President
Yes.
BBM, and said na he will endorse, although he didn't say. Ano ang bigat ng endorsement ng isang BBM?
Well, depende kung ano mangyayari in the next 2 years. For now kasi, mababa ang kanyang approval rating. Kaya most probably, kung ngayon mangyayari ang election, mababa rin ang kanyang endorsement power. Pero may iba kasing assets ang sitting president. Makinarya, di ba? At iba pang mga possible value added. No? Pero ngayon kasi, at least sa SWS, ay tumaas siya ng 14 points. Kaya
Totoo
naging
naman.
14-15.
Parang neutral.
Kaya nga wala siya ngayon, positive 1%. No? Kaya kung masusustain niya yan at mababago niya, ay mahalaga yon going into 2028. Pero, ang elephant in the room kasi rito ay kailangan niyang magpakulong ng mga maraming corrupt na tao para maging viable yung kanyang statement na ang kanyang e-endorse ay should be anti-corruption.
Like him. Like him, he said.
Sabi
right?
niya, oo, na, alam mo yun, mahiya naman kayo. Pero hindi naman mahihiya yung mga corrupt. So dapat ipakulong niya yung mga hindi nahihiya.
So, depende sa mangyayari pa.
Yes. Oo. Lalimawa, ang daming mga congressman ang na-involved dito sa mga anomalies na ito. Wala pa namang congressman ako nakita na kulong.
Wala pa.
Maraming mga contractors ang na-involved dito. Isa pa lang yung nakikita kong nakukulong. No? So, kung mananatili yung ganyan, ay baka maapektuhan yung kanyang endorsement power. Lalo na kung ang endorse niya ay anti-corruption.
Okay. Now let's go to yung parang part of the testimony of Secretary Bonoan recently in the Sandigan Bayan when he disclosed that there was 24 billion in a leadership fund for the senators in 2024. Unang-una, inaasahan tong magbaliktad, di ba? Supposedly, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen because he's now testifying against, is it Bong Revilla? Was that in the Bong Revilla? Or,
Well, hindi pa ganun kalinaw eh.
Oo
Kung
nga
kanino ba
eh.
siya nagte-testify.
Oo nga eh.
Ang medyo lumantad lang ay yung itong sinasabi na leadership fund, whatever
Right.
that is. Paano? Ako, okay lang sa akin yung leadership fund kung dramatically mag-i-improve yung leadership ng ating mga senador. Pero parang hindi naman. No? Kaya sayang. Sabi nga ni Senator Ping Lacson, this is the worst kind of pork barrel. Diba? Pero kailangan busisiin natin. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin nitong leadership fund na
Parang-
ito? Oo.
allocable. In other words, di ba? Wala siya sa NEP na inaalok pagkatapos.
Yes, pero anong framework dito? Anong rules dito? Paano ito pwedeng gamitin? Ano yan? Soft? Hard? Saan pwedeng gamitin yan? Hindi naman COA rules ang mag-govern dyan, no, katulad sa confidential at intelligence fund. Anong rules ng DBM dyan? Parang tahimik pa lang yung DBM dito sa leadership fund na ito. Hindi maliit yun, 1 billion each.
Right. At, well, why did he keep silent? Ang araw-araw halos nandun siya sa Blue Ribbon Committee noon nung may hearing. Sabagay, Blue Ribbon yun, Senado yun. You dare not.
Nagulat ka ba? Ba't siya tahimik? Parang ang dami niyang itinahimik.
Oo nga eh.
Di ba? 4 years na nangyari ito. Marami siya ikinatahimik.
This guy,
Kaya ngayon, nakakulong siya.
yes, and what other concessions is he asking for kaya to turn state witness? Or to testify against the supposedly mastermind, Martin Romualdez?
Well, una, dapat mapatunayan na hindi siya principal. Dahil for now kasi, siya lang ang cabinet secretary na nakasuhan at nakulong. No? Paano siya magiging hindi principal? Kaya nga mismo sila Senator Ping Lacson tumututol. Ikalawa, may isosoli ba siya? Halimbawa, si Yusek Bernardo magsosole o nakapagsoli na ng 1 billion.
Can you imagine,
Oo.
no? A USEC returning 1
1
billion.
billion. Ibig sabihin, malaki pa yung hindi nasosole. yung cabinet secretary, magkano isosole?
Oo nga.
Walang indication na magsosoli siya. Diba?
Maybe
At saka,
it's just as well na throw the book at this guy.
Yeah, ang tanong dyan kasi dati, sino ba ang kanyang idadawit? No? Yung idadawit ba niya ay mga principal,
Yeah.
big fish? Siguro yun ang pagbabatayan kung siya ay kukunin na state
But
witness.
laging confident itong si Ombudsman Remulla na he will get this testimony from Bonoan.
Yes,
in
pero
all his
medyo pissed na rin siya na, 'di ba? Nagalit na rin siya na hanggang ngayon wala namang big fish na idinadawit itong si Bonoan. No, ito kasi ang dinawit niya lahat ng senador.
Oo nga. Oo nga. Parang ang dami-dami niyang mga bagong revelation as the days go by. Let me now go to kaninang item on the grave threats case. For one, it took rin the DOJ so long to file this case. 2 years, 'di ba?
Yes.
Why? Anong nakikita mong strategiya ng gobyerno dito?
Hindi ko sure. Paano una ko narinig yan, si NBI Director Santiago pa ang nagsasabi. Noon, nakakasuhan. Natanggal na siya, wala na siya diyan. Ikalawa ay nung panahon na yon, 2 years ago, parang nagsisimula lumalala pa lang yung division sa unit team. 'Di ba? Ibig sabihin, nawasak na yung unit team, pero hindi pa ganun kasunog yung tulay. Baka isa yun sa dahilan. No? Ikatlo,
Umaasa pa sa reconciliation somehow.
I'm not sure. Ikatlo, ay, walang president eh. No? Kaya
Yes.
baka hindi nila sigurado how to go about it.
But now that the impeachment is already going on, it seems, I don't know, what do you read?
Hindi, una, ang alam ko, hindi naman ako abogado, hindi immune from suit ang Vice President.
That's what they're saying.
Oo, ang immune lang naman sa batas, yung presidente. Dahil yung presidente, nagpapatakbo ng bansa. Pero hindi naman pwede na lahat ng impeachable officials immune from suit. Ibig sabihin, kung nakapatay sila ng tao, may na-murder sila, ibig sabihin, hindi sila makukulong. No? So, ang talagang immune lang ay yung presidente dahil sa kanyang responsibilidad as president. Yung vice president kasi, hindi naman necessarily meron niyang posisyon eh. Aside from vice president.
Yeah, but I'm looking at, do they want to make things even more difficult for the VP na may impeachment na nga, mayroon pang ganitong kaso?
Tingin mo. kung ite-threaten mo yung presidente at yung pamilya
Sana
niya.
noon pa, parang nagiging, as time goes by nga, parang yung threat, hindi mo na, although at that time, of course, it seemed serious, parang,
Saan ka ba nakatira nito nakaraang mga dekada? At tingin mo ay mabilis ang ganito mga kwan.
and
Napakabagal.
yung timing na naman. Pero balikan natin kasi ang real concern ng mga Pilipino ngayon ay yung prices, how to cope with inflation. And that is where the surveys indicate that the president may have scored because yung ayuda nakarating sa E. Sa E siya tumaas eh, di ba?
Yes. E tsaka D. For now,
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
Dahil ito kasing 2.3% growth rate, itong almost 7% inflation, ngayon pa lang yan mararamdaman eh. Tapos itong unemployment na more than 5%. No, ay,
So we're
kumbaga
going-
may gestation period pa yan eh.
So we're going to experience even harder times.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dahil nagpapatuloy naman yung Iran war, so yung presyo ng gasolina mananatiling mataas. Tapos harvest time next month, which means yung food inflation mo tataas. Dahil yung farm inputs na mataas na nung nagtanim, ngayon mararamdaman ng tao sa presyo ng pagkain.
Bilihin.
Oo. Hindi ko sigurado kung hanggang saan masusustain ang ayuda. Dahil yung ating fiscal space, manipis
Yeah.
din eh. No?
Yeah.
Lalo na ngayon.
Tapos, yung inaasahan dito sa NCR na wage hike, inipit ng isang RTC.
Kanya nga, ang liit na nga, 85, staggered pa, no? Ibibigay pa yung part niya next year.
Next year.
Tapos, pinigilan pa ng isang RTC judge na alam ko hindi pwedeng gawin.
Yeah.
Ang desisyon ng National Wage Board,
Right.
hindi pwedeng baguhin ng RTC. Na medyo inamin naman ng RTC judge, no? Kaya maraming nagsasampa ng kaso ngayon laban doon sa RTC, laban doon sa injunction ng wage issue na ito, no? At
So, anong magagawa ng executive? What can the president do na he's, to somehow of course, it's an independent branch of government, but
marami naman siya magagawa eh. We have a very powerful presidential system dito. Very powerful ang presidente. So marami siyang magagawa dyan in
ito ang
terms of...
isang paraan na pwedeng ipakita nila, di
Eh,
ba?
halimbawa, maglabas siya ng statement. Katulad ng statement ng Secretary of Labor
Right.
na mali ito.
Oh.
Mali ito, hindi ito pwedeng gawin ng RTC judge. No? At didiin na namin na ito ay ma-implement. Kulang na nga ito. Ang sabi nga nung Secretary of Labor last month, ito ay unprecedented, historic move. Tapos just a few weeks later, binawi. Ang liit na nga, binawi pa. So, anong itsura nito? Anong itsura
Yun
ng
na nga
gobyerno?
eh.
Diba?
Exactly. So, minus na naman ito. Unless they do something.
Oh, dahil wala pang statement yung Malacanang.
Can
tungkol
the
dito.
judiciary, the higher, like the Supreme Court, can it intervene in this case?
Yes, kaya nga nagsampa sila sa Supreme Court.
But it's because the labor groups went to the Supreme Court.
Yes. And of course, it will take time. Diba?
Could the Labor Department not have done that itself to show that, it stands by the decision?
Meron ka kasing 6 million minimum wage earners. No? Minimum wage na nga yan. Tapos sa NCR, mga 1.5 yan. 1.4, 1.5. Diyan tinigil eh. Nitong R2 Builders, sila nag-file ng kaso dyan. No?
Owned by Regis Romero.
Yes. At itong mga minimum wage earners na ito, maraming mga dependents dito. No?
Yes.
Kaya ibig sabihin, yung mga kasama nila na walang trabaho, yung mga bata na nag-aaral pa lang. So,
Daming you
maraming
multiply
maapektuhan
the
yan.
impact.
At Ses, huwag mong kalimutan, the last minimum wage increase was 1989. No? Kaya nga sabi ni Secretary, unprecedented at saka historic dahil 89 yung last minimum wage increase.
Or could he not even talk to R2 Builders, Regis Romero? Atrasin nyo yung kaso nyo.
Ang problema nga, marami pang magsampa ng kaso sa mga regions. Paano ito? Kung palang ito, NCR, pinakamaraming minimum wage earners. Eh yung ibang mga lugar,
Sa
Region 3.
tingin mo ba, very inflationary ba? At makakasama talaga sa business ito?
Hindi, dahil yung mga small to medium scale, marami naman dyan, yung mga hindi kumikita or konti lang ang kita, exempted yan. No? At malaking factor naman sa ating inflation, yung yung supply side. We're not producing enough. Diba?
Yeah.
Kaya hindi naman ito dahil dahil sa ganyang kakapranggot na
So,
kita. Wala pang yan eh. Wala pang isang Jollibee na hamburger yan eh.
Pambihira naman.
At
Tapos,
actually, makakatulong pa nga yan. Dahil
because it will give them more purchasing
consumption.
power. Yes.
Ang ating economy is consumption-based.
Right.
So medyo may pambili ang mga tao. Lalo na meron tayong krisis
So,
ngayon.
okay, minus na naman si BBM dito. Hindi man lang nagsalita. Hindi
Sana
ba?
magsalita
Oo,
naman sila.
kaya nga, too late. Dahil parang narinig ka na.
Or magbigay sila ng mga cost of living allowance na dagdag. O ayaw nila magtaas ng sahod.
Can that be
diba?
done by executive,
Again, the executive can do a lot of things.
They're not using their power enough to help, right?
Well, baka kulang. No? Kulang yung kanilang...
Okay, panghuli. Naging na naman tayo, very notorious picture spread around the world na kahiya-hiya ng dagat ng basura.
Grabe, no?
Nakakahiya.
Ilang tonelada. Tapos
nga.
talagang...
Mukha na naman tayong number 1 tayo sa lahat ng mga lists na notorious.
Actually, tayo ang number 1 pollutant
of
ng
plastic in the ocean.
In the ocean, no? Kaya yung microplastic sa mga isdang kinakain natin, napaka-unhealthy nun.
Another, I guess, lost opportunity for the administration na hindi nila tinutukan yung waste management.
Kaya nga sabi ko yung
Or hindi man lang nabanggit yan sa speech ni
yung critic ko dun sa SONA, yung paano marami kasing ayuda which is good, no? Relief, tax exempt, ganyan. Ang kulang yung structural. Siguro dahil ang natitira na lang 2 taon, ang tingin niya yung structural kasi pang long term, pero baka pwedeng simulan na. Waste management, drainage,
Yeah.
flood control. Hindi naman pwedeng libo-libo pa rin yung flood control, di ba?
Pero-
Uulitin mo lang yan eh.
Pero wag ka, nag-issue ng statement si Senator Legarda from wherever she is about nature-based solutions in flood control.
Wow. I'm impressed. So impressed. Ikaw, hindi ka impressed?
Hindi, I'm just like, well, kailangan na rin naman ng nature. She's correct there, but where is she? That's the, and
Dati pa niya sinasabi yan.
iya nga. But kahapon may storya tayo from Malolos na ipinakita ang ganong ka-effective ang nature's solutions. But again, I brought up her name because sabi mo nga hindi nababalik. And
Nagpustahan pa tayo noon. Marami
hindi
akong
naman, hindi ako nakipusta.
marami akong tinalo. Kapustahan.
But it's still early. She just extended her medical leave.
Yun nga. So, naniniwala ka, it's about medical leave. Bibigyan mo siya ng benefit of the doubt.
Yes, I'm
diba?
giving her the
Oo.
benefit of the doubt. But I wanted to ask you about the impact on the impeachment and the numbers. And is it about time to revisit now yung voting threshold?
Tatlo yan eh. No? Yung una, ano ba yung 2/3? Sabi ng presiding judge, 16.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure may magsasampa ng kaso sa Supreme Court or i-re-raise yan dun sa impeachment court. So may possibility na bumaba pa yan sa 14. Ikalawa, yung mga nakukumbinse na mga senador. Nadadagdagan ba yan? Ang balita ko, nadadagdagan. No? At yung ikatlo, yung
Balita mo?
Court of Public Opinion. No? Ibig sabihin, yung Court of Public Opinion, mag-i-impact yan sa senator judges.
Okay, sige. Punta natin yung first column.
I'm almost sure.
bababa.
I'm almost sure either i-raise yan sa
Supreme Court.
sa Senate o sa trial court, simple majority lang ang
Yeah.
botohan diyan. Tapos yung hindi sang-ayon, yun ang pwede magsampa sa Supreme Court. Or hindi yan pag-uusapan na sa Senate as a impeachment court, diretso na sa Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yung ikalawa,
Okay.
yung nadadagdagan ba?
Sa tingin mo, nadadagdagan.
May chilling effect itong mga kasong ito eh. Yung mga nakakasuhan. Kaya tingin ko nadadagdagan. Ngayon, hindi ko na kailangan i-specify kung sino.
Yung absent ba? Hindi, may isa pang ring absent bukod dun sa nabanggit namin. Yun ba?
Gets mo naman pala eh.
O sige, dun tayo magtatapos. Thank you for your time once again. Always interesting to have you on a Friday evening, pa-end ng week. That was political pundit Ronald Llamas. You are watching The Big Story on One News. When we return, the President addresses the long-standing question on his family's alleged ill-gotten wealth.
The reason we won those civil cases is because they were proven to be not ill-gotten wealth. Again, I'll tell you the same thing I told you then. You know more about this than I do.
Nakikita ko na ito ay isang once-in-a-lifetime opportunity para sa ating bansa. Kung hindi ho ito papasok sa ating bansa, sigurado po ako papasok to sa Vietnam, papasok to sa Thailand, sa Indonesia. Ibang bansa ho ay tatanggapin ho ito.
Senate President Win Gatchalian there sharing his thoughts on the quite controversial Pax Silica initiative. That AI hub in Tarlac could bring in unprecedented technology and investments, but there are also still unaddressed concerns on its social and environmental impact, particularly how much water and power it will use and how many locals the project will displace. And thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. NBI Director Melvin Matibag is in Davao City, but not for reasons some might assume.
Nandito kami sa Davao, ang nahuli namin hindi bato, bakal. Ha?
The NBI chief explained his presence in Davao, which is to raid a steel plant facility allegedly manufacturing and distributing substandard steel bars that contain harmful radioactive materials. 174 Filipino employees were rescued from the facility. 14 individuals have been arrested, including its officials, and 7 are still at large. This is the 5th steel plant the NBI raided.
Nagkaroon po tayo ng subsequent test buy of the steel bars which we subjected to testing. So out of the samples na binili natin, there are about 50% of it containing these radioactive materials na sinasabi natin.
His candidate for the 2028 presidential elections to the issue of his family's alleged ill-gotten wealth, these were just some of the questions the chief executive had to respond to as he sat down with the Foreign Correspondents Association earlier today. More on this from News 5's Maricel Halili.
Who that is, I cannot tell you because even I don't know. So, maaga pa eh. It's a little early for that, and we don't know. We only have, so far, we have only one person who has thrown their hat in the ring.
This was President Bongbong Marcos's response when asked who the administration will pit against his estranged Vice President, Sara Duterte, in the 2028 presidential elections. The chief executive faced the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines, or FOCAP, in a luncheon on Friday, an event he had to postpone at the height of the EDSA rallies a month ago. When asked if he would endorse a candidate 2 years from now,
We will certainly provide the best candidate to the betterment of the lives of every Filipino. That we will choose the best possible candidate.
Marcos's eventual choice will likely go head-to-head against Duterte, his former running mate under the Uniteam coalition in 2022. Duterte announced in February that she intends to seek the presidency in 2028. When asked about surveys showing Sara as a leading presidential preference, Marcos said he reads the numbers but does not allow them to dictate his decisions.
How do you feel when you see surveys showing that Vice President Duterte is the leading preference to succeed you? And in relation to that, our country has a history of former presidents being jailed and pursued by their predecessors. Do you fear that at all?
No. I don't really worry about surveys, quite frankly. I don't change my decision because of the survey. I don't change direction because of a survey. I take a decision because that's what I feel is the proper decision to make.
The chief executive later indicated that continuing his administration's anti-corruption efforts would figure prominently in his choice of successor.
The candidate I will endorse will be somebody who I am confident will continue what we have begun in terms of the anti-corruption measures.
President Marcos said his administration has been working to institutionalize safeguards against corruption, including digitalizing government transactions and reducing officials' discretion over processes. He described digitalization as the most powerful tool against corrupt practices long after he leaves Malacanang. As to the ongoing investigation of the flood control scandal, which he himself put out in the open, Marcos says he wants to see clear results before he steps down. But will the respondents include his cousin, former House Speaker Martin Romualdez?
You should be asking that question of the Ombudsman, not me. I am not privy to the investigation that is being conducted by the Ombudsman. I am not privy to any kind of schedule. But the Ombudsman and his officers are very much on this subject, as I'm sure you have gleaned from his statements that he has been making in the past few weeks. So we leave it to the Ombudsman, and now that you've asked me, I'll give him a call and see how is it go. Ask him how is it going, just to give for my own edification.
At the same FOCUP gathering, Mr. Marcos rejected the persistent issue on his family's alleged ill-gotten wealth. The president was asked again about the settlement of estate taxes and penalties.
The reason we won those civil cases is because they were proven to be not ill-gotten wealth. Kaya nga kami nanalo dahil napatunayan namin na hindi ito ill-gotten wealth.
In this event with foreign correspondents, PBBM likewise discussed international issues, particularly the provisional understanding with China on the rotation and resupply or RORE missions to the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal.
There's no special arrangement that we, somehow the implication is that we have to ask for permission or that we have to give up some of our rights. That's not the case at all. The case is very simple. Our ships are our vessels will sail, they will resupply or they will patrol or they will, and any time that they do sail, that NOTAM is issued. And that's the extent of it.
Then the president also had something to say about online safety marred by disinformation and fake news.
We launched Oplan Contra Fake News to protect the public from disinformation and hold its purveyors accountable. Through the Presidential Task Force on Media Security, we also continue to strengthen legal assistance, intelligent coordination, and cybercrime response mechanisms to better protect media practitioners. Ladies and gentlemen, the demands of our time will continue to test our resolve. The government and the media may not always agree, nor should they. But our shared interest remains the same, the pursuit of truth.
For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
And now on to our weather. Pag-asa says there's no sign of the habagat rains letting up.
Unfortunately, sa atin po nakikita, yung habagat is not likely to have a break for now. Yung southwest monsoon natin likely will continue at least in the next few days, at least until next week pa po ito. So ibig sabihin, yung ganitong weather, hindi naman po siya laging maulan o heavy ang downpour, pero definitely dahil lalo na nasa tag-ulan season tayo, nasa peak tayo ng habagat season, tag-ulan season, we will be expecting talaga every now and then light to moderate rains to be experienced here in Metro Manila and nearby provinces.
Tonight until the weekend, wet weather is expected over Luzon and parts of western Visayas, Metro Manila, Ilocos, the Cordilleras, Cagayan Valley, Calabarzon, Mimaropa. The rest of central Luzon and Antique could experience the most rainfall. Meanwhile, the LPA outside the Philippine area of responsibility is farther away from the country. But while it will no longer affect us directly, expected to still enhance the habagat or southwest monsoon. In other news, stricter oversight of public works initiatives, cuts to unprogrammed appropriations, and more foreign investors. These are some of the interventions economic managers have laid down to shore up the weak economy and bring business confidence back. More from mobile journalist Fatima Baduria.
The proposed 2027 budget has just been submitted, but already critics are questioning the allocation for the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, which is currently at 644 billion pesos and includes 107 billion pesos for flood control. That's actually the lowest level since 2019. Still, newly installed DBM Secretary Kim Robert De Leon is well aware of the stigma now attached to any money allocated for flood control. At a forum hosted by EJAP, or the Economic Journalists Association of the Philippines, De Leon said they have been stricter about the whole process and now require new measures like geotagging.
We talk about the reforms. We have been very strict with DPWH and we thank them for their cooperation because, as we have said, we filtered their proposals strictly to focus on this completion and ongoing operation and maintenance. We required them to submit to us the full documentation of all these proposed projects. In fact, not only for flood control, but all of the infrastructure projects within the DPWH. We have the full documentation of it, including the budget forms, the location, the geotagging, and the program of works. to make sure that this will not be ghost projects as have earlier been reported in the previous years.
Just how much economic growth was lost due to the corruption scandal? According to Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Eli Remolona Jr., the 2.3% GDP for the second quarter of 2026 should have been at least 3.2% if money had gone to the right projects. That's still below target, granted, but would have at least not meant 4 straight quarters of deceleration.
A big part of it, as you know, was spending on flood control that did not go into flood control. And I think in the testimony of Secretary Ralph Recto in the Senate, he said that could have been 70%, as much as 70% was diverted.
To further safeguard the budget, DBM Secretary De Leon says they will tighten spending discipline and seek to cut unprogrammed appropriations in the future. The proposal for 2027 is currently at 111.98 billion pesos, down from over 150 billion this year and the lowest since 2019. He says they could even bring UAs down to as low as 1% of total spending or even cut it entirely.
So if you will notice, very limited, very disciplined ang items in the UA this year. So that's the direction. If we can really accommodate, that's the priority, put it in the program. And there's a very strict categorization or levers that we use in order for us to decide whether to place it under unprogrammed or not. So we're working towards a more disciplined budget. So the lower, the better, but depending on the actual purpose or the nature of the project to be funded.
As part of the government's efforts to boost the economy, Department of Finance Secretary Frederick Go says that aside from revenues from tax collections and privatization, it is also trying to lure more countries to invest in the Luzon Economic Corridor. So far, 8 have joined this year alone.
So they are namely Australia, Canada, Denmark, France, Italy, Korea, Sweden, and the UK. So 8 new countries have joined the LEC, bringing the total number of partner countries in the LEC to 10. And 1 more European country is set to become the newest addition to the LEC.
Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
This is a big story on One News, and coming up, environment-friendly solutions are working for one community in Bukidnon. We will tell you all about it after the quick break. Stay tuned.
Ito ay blatant na disrespect sa ating mga manggagawa and already insufficient wage increase. Barya na nga po, per tranche pa, installment, tapos ngayon hinaharangan pa.
It's disgusting because it's very clear na mas kinatigan pa nung judge yung alleged na potential losses ng milyonaryong construction companies kesa dun sa actual suffering, actual losses ng millions of minimum wage earners dito sa NCR.
It is very clear in Article 126 of the Labor Code that no injunction or temporary restraining order can be issued against the proceedings of the Regional Wage Board. I think this is also a wake-up call for Congress and for no less than the President to certify as urgent a legislated wage increase.
One innovative farmer in Nueva Ecija is turning an unlikely water fern into a gold mine. Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw with this report.
With the rising costs of commercial feeds in the Philippines, a farmer in Nueva Ecija turned to Azola, an aquatic fern that has become a low-cost livestock feed and another source of income.
Azolla farming is the best alternative foods for animal. At kaya ngayon, hinihikayat ko ang lahat ng mga kapwa ko livestock farming na mag-azolla dahil napakagandang alternative foods po ito. Bukod sa mayaman sa protein, kaya niyang survive ang pang-araw-araw ng ating mga alaga.
What started as a simple experiment grew into something bigger. From a single basin, Alvin now manages 9 ponds of azolla. Besides being protein-rich, he says azolla is easy to grow, requiring minimal maintenance as it thrives in water containers in just a few days.
Lagay lang po ako sa isang parang plangganang maliit, hindi po siya puno. 2 to 3 days, napuno na po na siya. Ayun ma'am, nag-harvest ako ng kaunti, binigyan ko yung alaga ko. Talagang gustong-gusto nila. Doon ako na-excite, sabi ko. Ito na yung sagot doon sa pagtaas ng commercial feeds na matagal ko nang hinahanap.
And as demand for azolla continues to grow, Alvin says his combined farm earnings now reached around 2,000 to 3,000 pesos per day.
Para sa akin po, ang azolla is miracle. Isa siyang himala. Pag hinarbisan niyo po siya ngayon, ang 30 to 50%, kinabukasan po, babalik at babalik po yun. Maganda po talaga yung pasok ng kita. Kasi naibebenta mo sa magandang presyo yung mga alaga mo na ang ginagastos mo ay hindi ganon kalaki. At sa bentahan naman po ng azolla, talaga pong mami-maintain po natin yung 2 to 3K a day.
But beyond its potential as a livestock feed, Alvin also shares that azolla helps reduce odor on his farm, making it more manageable for him and neighbors nearby.
Unang-una, nagiging problema po ng owner ng mga farm, yung ammonia, yung baho sa farm, yung langaw. Ito man, pagka may azolla yung ipinakain mo dun sa alaga mo, talaga ma'am, nawawala po yung ammonia, yung amoy. Kahit may kapitbahay ka, kung magagalit at hindi ka po nila ibabarangay kasi okay dun sa farm mo, nang walang langaw, walang amoy.
Today, Alvin continues to explore more ways to maximize azolla, from developing biofertilizer to producing manufactured feeds.
Minsan, pag pinapakain natin ng fresh azolla yung mga alaga natin, minsan naghahanap po yan ng mga other ingredients tulad rice bran. Habang dumadami po yung azolla natin, ginagawa na rin na po natin siyang feeds or pellet para hindi po nasasayang yung pagdami ng azolla.
Kapatid Mobile Journalist Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
And now, from one sustainability story to another. Nearly a year ago, we featured the uses of a precious tree called agarwood, from fragrances to food ingredients. This time around, agarwood is helping build the future of young students, such as those that we visited in Talakag, Bukidnon. This is sustainability. These students in Masimag Elementary School in Talakag, Bukidnon have reason to be happy.
Anong gusto mo maging paglaki mo? Teacher? Very good! Hindi magkaka-shortage ng teacher dito sa Bukidnon.
Mr. Love, anong gusto mo maging? Scientist! Oy, wow! Galing ah! Just at the beginning of the year, this was where they went to class, a makeshift shed from what was once a dilapidated stage for their outdoor activities. Until June this year, when 2 new classrooms were inaugurated, funded by the Mead Foundation, which is backed by Iba Botanicals and United Agarwood Planters Incorporated in partnership with Base Bahay.
Hindi lang struktura niya yung maganda. Pati na rin yung pagpasok ng mga bata dito sa parang i-excite sila kasi bago yung classroom eh. At saka kakaiba pa yung itsura sa makikita natin dito sa usual na classroom. Isa pa sa naka-add-on ng kanilang interest yan. Tapos, syempre, makikita rin natin na yung attendance nila is talagang fixed talaga. Almost 100%.
These 2 classrooms were built in less than half a year at half the cost of what the Education Department would pay typical contractors to build.
Before, my classroom was the stage room in our school. So the walls were made of roofing sheets. And so whenever there was a program, so we had to open both sides. So and when it rained, now we cannot hear everyone. Ang masasabi ko lang po, komportable na po kami. Lalo na po kapag nag-aaral sila. Kasi noon, parang pumapasok, lalabas yung mga hangin. So ngayon, ma'am, since bago na yung classroom, may bintana na. So pwede lang naming i-close. Kasi dati tatagos talaga siya kasi plywood lang. So tatagos yung hangin.
What's more, these classrooms are eco-friendly, using innovative technology developed by Base Bahay.
Ang tawag sa kanya ay CBFT. Sino nakakalam? So, Cement Bamboo Frame Technology, CBFT. Kasi kino-combine o pinagsasama yung kawayan sa konting semento lang. Mas maraming kawayan para makapagpatayo ng ganitong bahay. So, sa mga bahay niyo ba sa kawayan, anong nangyayari pag umuulan, pag malakas ang hangin, pag lumilindol? Anong nangyayari? Matibay ang kawayan. Kasi sa lindol, di ba, sa sayaw? Oo. Pero sa malakas na hangin, lilipad. Okay. Pero itong technology na to, hindi to lilipad sa hangin kasi lahat to naka-test.
A great number of the parents of these kids work in this vast plantation. They're mostly IPs from the Talandig and Higanon tribes.
As these agarwood trees establish stable roots in this plantation, they're also helping build strong foundations for the community around it. This agarwood tree helped build classrooms for the Masimag Elementary School, a model structure using concrete and bamboo technology from Base Bahay.
Roughly 160 hectares in the Miarayon Valley have been planted with agarwood. In 5 years, essential oils will be extracted from these trees, which are highly valued by the global perfume industry. United Agarwood contributes a portion of each tree planted to the communities around its plantation. Despite the blessings of fertile land and ideal climate, farmers here are struggling because of Talakag's remoteness and poor infrastructure. By building an essential oils hub here, Iba Botanicals and United Agarwood hopes to change their lives. Ben Mead is the founder and CEO of Iba Botanicals.
We don't just want to provide jobs, we also want to see what else the community needs to help them with general development. So sometimes it's classrooms, other times it could be a water system, it could be both. These projects are important to me because the driver for me of why I do the non-profit projects is because I feel very fortunate that I was born in Australia to a reasonably comfortable family. I had good opportunities, I had good education, had good nutrition, I had good opportunities and mobility. And I could have just as easily in another life been born, one of these children. And so for me, it's like, okay, I was given this opportunity.
The poverty incidence here is at roughly 27%, the highest in northern Mindanao. While Miarayon is known as the vegetable farming capital of the region, farmers are facing declining harvests because of degraded soils from heavy use of agricultural chemicals. Most of these students walk to school and back, oftentimes with just one meal to keep them going. Starting this month, the 550 students here will also be fed a hot lunch meal. The Mead Foundation is partnering with the school and the community to realize this.
Yun yung gustong gawin ng foundation na tulungan sila. Kasi yung ibang mga bata din po is kinakain nila yung dalang lunch nila for snacks in the morning. So wala na po silang kakainin para sa lunch. Kaya naisipan po namin na mag-provide kami ng hot meals. This is the first time po na may mag-sponsor na foundation na i-cater lahat yung student. Walang pipiliin regardless of their nutritional status.
This is just the beginning of making their dreams come true, building stronger communities, enriching the soil, and enriching young minds that's sustainable for many years to come.
25. Okay, let's try. Very good. Clap your hands.
And before we go, non-stop monsoon rains in Metro Manila have triggered yet another Carmageddon along EDSA this payday Friday. Our big picture tonight, shots from EDSA showing bumper-to-bumper traffic despite class and government work suspensions. It's been 2 weeks since the monsoon rains have battered NCR. And today's weather is no different. It even prompted the MMDA and Makati City to suspend number coding schemes. So to motorists out there, bring some more patience on the road. And those are the big stories this week. I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. Kapatid, we are One News, your side all the time. Good night and keep safe and dry this weekend.